Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're on video and everybody can hear us clearly. And they'll let us know in the comments if not. So we are live on the Voices of Strength page, and we are going to get started. So I'm going to introduce the show quickly. This is Voice of Strength, and we are highlighting victims of police homicides every week. These victims come from across the country. Today we are focusing on Shayne Sutherland, and he was killed by Stockton PD just recently, which was October 2020. It's only been 7 months. This is a new mother. So I want to go ahead and let you introduce yourself, Karen, share where you're from and your son's name, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay. Thank you, Marissa, for having me. I'm Karen Sutherland, and I'm the mother of Shayne Sutherland. He was killed on October 8th of 2020 by Stockton PD. I live a few hours away, but he was from that area, not directly in Stockton, but he was living in Modesto at the time. So.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Karen, and introducing yourself. And for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Marissa Barrera. I started this is number 24. And I started this because there's a need for the true stories of police homicide victims, our stories, our loved one stories to be told. My brother, Michael Barrera, is right behind me. And he's the reason that I started in this work, and it's been 4 years now. So I've unfortunately seen so many new families be added to this family, and Karen is one of them. So thank you for being on the show with us and being willing to share your son's story and your side of it too. So let's go ahead. I have one for the viewers. I have some photos that were provided by Karen to share of her son and some of his personal photos, so his family and things like that. So I'll be sharing that right now. You guys can, I always think this is an important thing to do, to humanize our loved ones. And we'll go ahead and we'll kind of talk about that as we go through this, but let's go ahead and first just start talking about Shayne, and just let us know how old he was, what he was up to, and just about him and who he was as a person.
Okay. Shayne was 29. Actually, it was 10 days before his 30th birthday that he was killed. So I was only 17 when I had Shayne. So one of the things he used to tell me all the time is, we grew up together, Mama. And we did. As a child, he was just always that loving kid, very caring. I remember we had a neighbor across the street from us, and anytime she would come home, she was an older lady, and anytime she would come home from the grocery store, he would not let her take her groceries in. I mean, he was right there, unloading her trunk, taking them in, offering to even put them away for her. So him and his brother both did that. He was very caring, was very sensitive. There wasn't a time I wasn't with him that he was opening doors for people, including me. He also had a little wild side about him when he became a teenager. So he just, he was a good-hearted person. As he got older, he had a few different jobs. That's me and him right there in the hospital when his first child was about to be born. And that was his dog, Betty. And that's him fishing because he loved to fish. That's him and his brother, Jaden. Those are him and his two babies, baby Shayne and Demetria. And that's me and him and 3 of his siblings, Kira, Jaden, and Adam. That's him right after his daughter, Demetria, was born.
And just seeing the photos of him, the way he hugs the animals and his children, you can tell like that he was a loving man.
He was. He was very loving. He was loving.
And I may have added a couple. There may be some duplicates in here, so don't mind that.
Oh, that's fine. So Shayne, as far as like his work, he was a member of the Glaziers and Glass Workers Union, Local 169. That's me and him.
Mhm.
uh, he he was proud to do that. He was a hard worker. When last year when COVID hit, he got laid off for a little while, so he went to Alaska and he was a commercial fisherman, and that he just absolutely loved it there. You know, he said if he didn't have children, he probably would have stayed there and lived there, but he came back and then he went back to his job for the union right before he was killed. So, and this is me doing what I do now.
Yeah, you know what? I included some of the photos. So as people watching will see, um, we shared some of the photos from the family before this, and those moments, one like with his babies and his work and just different things you shared. And then we hit to where we see mom having to speak for him, having to have posters with her son's photo on it, and just highlighting that again, you've only been around for 7 months, and even just these photos that you shared, and I know you have more of actions that you attended or have held yourself. So it's just it's a life changer, and we could see it just with these few photos.
It's completely, I 7 months ago asked me if I would have been out like this. I mean, I have spoke out before about things like this, but this changes your life. And this is my life now. It's not something that I, do every once in a while to help somebody out. This is my life. This is what I do, speaking out for my son and for others. When this happened to Shayne, you just go through all these emotions and everything, and you connect with people, and nobody gives you a book, nobody gives you a handbook and says, okay, this is what you do. You
Yeah.
just do it. As a mama bear, whatever people want to call me, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just speak out, and we just want these cops and all cops that break laws and kill our kids, hurt us, that could, hurt our future generations, my other kids, my grandkids, your kids, your grandkids, everybody. Things need to change. So until people can just get up and start saying something and actually do something about it, nothing's going to change. So it is my life. And it'll always be my life until I can no longer speak. I will continue to speak out and do this for everybody, not just for Shayne, but for everybody.
Thank you for sharing that, Karen. And that's one thing that I got to meet you pretty early on, and I just seen you going and going, and I see this with a lot of families. We just immediately have to hop in and do the work, even though nobody really knows how to do it or what to do, or there's no steps, like you said earlier. So I just want to say, like, I'm super proud of you, just how hard you've been fighting, that you're being vocal, that you're not backing down.
Thank
And also, everyone responds different when this happens. I know for my mom, the first year, she couldn't speak, she couldn't go anywhere, she was in bed like most of the time. But I appreciate, and I know other families do, newer families, older families alike, just the fact that when you guys come in and you guys see it as what it is, it's the totality of it, and know right away. That's how I was, knowing that it's not just for my brother anymore. Like at this point, it's for all of these people. Once our eyes are open to like what is really going on. So I do want to, yeah, I want to ask, you mentioned 7 months ago, you would have known you'd be doing this. What was if you don't mind sharing, just your experience or your opinion back then about like cops, or if you were aware of the police brutality to this level?
I mean, obviously that's right. Not too long after the George Floyd killing. That was a big eye opener. I mean, I watched that day and I was in complete disbelief of that, and just the boldness of that cop. just doing that. And so that opened my eyes a lot more. I've always known that there's police brutality, and I had the mindset of, most cops are, they're good, and we got a few bad ones. And, um, I mean, I have a hard time with that anymore, simply because I feel that you need to speak out if that's your occupation. I'm a nurse, and I've been a nurse for 22 years. And I'll tell you what, if I don't speak out against somebody abusing a patient, I'll lose my license and I'll never be able to be a nurse again. And that'll make me just as bad as that person abusing, and it's the same thing I feel for police. Like, if you choose to go in this profession and you have, all good intent, then, that's great. But good intent, you have to be able to speak out against your coworkers when they are abusing their power or doing something they shouldn't be doing. And if you don't, that makes you just as guilty as them.
Thank you. I absolutely agree with you. Of course, you know this, and thank you for sharing just where you stand, like, before this as a medical professional, and what you would have to do with in these type of situations. A lot of people want to make it the police, people excusing the police killings, brutality, want to make it about, well, their job's hard. Well, they need to go home every day. But as you shared and highlighted, there are lots of professions that have these experiences, like hard jobs. You have to report when you see something bad.
Yeah.
And besides the job, like ethics, like your morals also, if you see something.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, their job, I'm sure, is challenging, just like a lot of jobs, but you have to still have compassion, and you have to treat people like they're human beings. And just because their lifestyle you don't agree with, or their race you don't agree with, that does not give you, the right to hurt anybody, belittle anybody, kill anybody. That does not give you the right to do that. And I can go on and on about all that. I just, that's just how I feel. I felt this way even before my son was killed. I think it's just, when he was killed and I started doing research on things and reading about more police killings, that's when it really hit me in the face that, man, this is just, it is out of control, absolutely, completely out of control. And, I guess I just didn't realize the magnitude of how many people every year, just in the United States, are killed by police. And we're not even counting the ones that are abused, hurt, and they live through it.
Survivors. Yeah. Absolutely. Gosh. Thank you for highlighting that too, with the survivors, because those are the ones too we really, and I want to take time too for survivors who may come across our show. I always try to invite them to share, or at least connect with us, because they're a huge part of this fight too. But I can only imagine the trauma that they experience, from the beating or whatever it was that they went through. But I do want to take a quick minute to just shout out to the people watching and the other families who are on with us and here with us to uplift Karen as she shares about her son and what the family has been going through. Any other families, impacted families who are in here, or survivors, just feel free to leave in the comments, drop your name and your loved one's name, and ask people to do this, because once you're impacted family member, once your loved one is killed by police, it's not just about us, and showing us together that we are here supporting each other, and that we're going to support you and your family through this is important, I think, for others to see as we continue on with this show. Karen, so let's I've known you for, I think I met you pretty early on after it happened. So I've got to kind of, for the people watching, just really know this family a little closer and meet them in person, meet Karen and her family in person. So let's get started on what happened and the ugly part of it that we don't even like, and that people don't want to hear about sometimes, but we want people to hear. We need to talk about that. So let's share with us just how it started with you, and then share with us like how you found out, what they first told you, and then anything between, but let's fast forward after that to what you found out to be true.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I want to thank you, Marissa. You have been a very strong rock for me, and you have led me, as well as many other people. Like I said, I didn't know what to do. There's several different family members that reached out to me, and I appreciate everybody. So basically what happened, I was just having, just a regular day. I received a phone call from Shayne's kid's mom, and she told me that the police had called her and said that they wanted to talk to her about Shayne. So they wanted to talk to her in person. So, she called me. I said, okay, as soon as they get there. She was at work. And I said, as soon as they get there, call me. Don't talk to them. You call me, and then, we'll see what's going on. And honestly, like, I don't know, man, maybe it's a mother's intuition, but I just knew deep down inside of me something was wrong. And so I came into my room because I just had a bad feeling. Okay. So I came in my room. About 10 minutes later, she calls me, puts me on speakerphone with a detective from Stockton PD. And he asked me a series of questions, who I am, my birthday, who my son is, his birthday. It seemed like that conversation right there was forever, but it was literally only a few minutes. And I want to also pinpoint that this call occurred about 1:36 p.m. Okay. And I'll tell you why I'm highlighting that in a couple minutes. Then he proceeds, because I'm like, what's going on with my son? And so then he tells me, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
He tells me that your son called us, and there was an incident at a store in Stockton, and he didn't really go into the details, but he said that they called him outside, and he came out and he sat down on the cement right there in front of the store, and that he said that my son just stood up and then just collapsed to the ground, and he stopped breathing. And so they started CPR, and they called EMS, and then they said that he died at the hospital. And I'm like, I guess I must have screamed. I don't really remember, but I know that, my son came running into the room. And so I remember asking him like 3 times, what do you mean he just collapsed? What do you mean he just died? I mean, what happened? Did anybody tase him? Did you tackle him? Did you shoot him? What happened? I asked him that like 3 times. Okay. And he denied it. He said, no, ma'am, there was no physical altercation between the police and your son. He said he just stood up from a sitting position, and he just collapsed to the ground. And he specifically told me the only mark you're probably going to see on your son is from his face hitting the ground. He said he might have a bruise on his face. So that he completely denied any kind of physical altercation at all. At least 3 times I asked him this on the phone. Okay.
My goodness.
So, so after that, I, obviously took down his information, and I remember getting off the phone and just, me and my son were just like laying in my bed, just, sobbing. I couldn't believe it. I, called my dad. And my dad and my son were very, very close. I was really worried even telling my dad this because, I just didn't know. And he took it, of course, absolutely horrible. And then everybody just kept calling. I just remember laying in my bed, just like in disbelief. It's such a shock that I can't explain it. It's such a shock that it's like a numbing type of shock. And I know that other mothers know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just that you can't explain it. And so for over 3 hours, I'm laying in my bed. My son's trying, we're crying and we're just, trying to figure this out, what happened to Shayne. I've got multiple people calling me. I'm having to tell the story all over again. I mean, it was just absolutely devastating. So 3 hours after I got that phone call, I get another phone call. And this is where more stuff comes out. So I get another phone call from a different detective. And he asked me, can you tell me what the first detective said to you when he called you to tell you about your son? I mean, first of all, why do I need to reiterate this story? But okay, so I'm sorry.
They can't ever keep their stories even straight, their lies amongst each other straight. It's crazy.
Yeah, the lies on this are insane. I mean, it's just crazy. So he asked me to, tell him what the detective told me. So I told him exactly, what he said to me about Shayne complying, coming out of the store, sitting on the cement, in front of the store, and that he just like stood up and collapsed to the ground and stopped breathing. And so he tells me, like, quote, "Let me tell you what really happened."
My goodness.
And what are you talking about? What really happened? So here I have been for 3 hours thinking my son, maybe had a massive heart attack or something. Like what happened to cause him to just collapse like that and die? And so then he tells me that there was a physical altercation, that my son tried to run. And I guess I should back up a little bit and say that that Shayne called 911. He told me that Shayne called 911 from the store and asked for a taxi. Okay. Well, that should tell you right there that he's confused. I mean, from calling 911 for a taxi.
Yeah.
So that should have been a different approach to him. So anyway, he said that when the officers arrived at the store, that they went into the store, they asked my son to come out so they could ask him some questions, and they sat him down on the ground.
And that was Jaden that they were talking to? Are we talking about Jaden, your son that was?
No, this is Shayne.
Oh, I thought you were saying when they came. Okay.
No, that they when he said that when Shayne went to the store and he called 911 for a taxi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so this detective told me that when the cops went in there to the store, asked him to come out, he came out and he sat down. And then the detective told me that Shayne stood up and tried to run from the police. And so they had to tackle him to the ground. He said, and then while they had him down on the ground is when he stopped breathing. So then again, here go my questions. I asked him, I said, were they sitting on my son? Were they putting pressure anywhere on his abdomen, his chest, his throat, his neck, anything? Were they using anything? Was there any weapons? Did they tase him? I just went through everything that I could think of. Tell me how this happened. He didn't just get tackled to the ground and die. Did he hit his head so hard that it killed him? Tell me what happened. And he said, no. He goes, I've reviewed the body cam. He said, and it doesn't appear that there was any pressure at all put on your son.
Liar.
Exactly. I mean, do they not realize that we're going to get the body cam? Do they not realize that this is all on video? How stupid are they? Okay. for thinking that we're this stupid.
That you're just going to accept that. Look, so I want to share with you real quick that there are a ton of people in the comments, and a lot of these people have seen your son's video, the video that they edited, the edited video of when they brutally assault your son. A lot of the people have seen that. So people are pissed just hearing what you were told initially. And I want to point out too that this is a grieving mother, this mother that was just told that her son was dead. And she had to pull these answers out of these detectives who freaking lied the whole time anyways. For people who are not familiar with police killings, I mean, the families in the comments, they know this stuff, but for those who are not familiar, this is normal stuff. This is normal stuff that they will always lie. Their first narrative, it's not even the first narrative, it's a false narrative. So we need to remind people these things and highlight all of our loved ones that the false narratives, that's the first thing they do to the loved ones after killing them. So I just wanted to let that out real quick. I know a lot of people are upset right here in the comments, and they're supporting you, Karen, and they're just sending you love and lots of feedback in there. So yeah, so go ahead and continue.
Okay. So basically the detective on the phone told me that, there was from what he could see on the body cam. Now let me remind people too, that they're seeing the unedited version. The only version that everybody else has seen is the edited, which is very blurred. And I also want to highlight one thing. I have not personally watched the video. I have my cousin, Christine Morgan, who has been my eyes and ears throughout this entire thing. She has watched that video so many times because I needed a transcript of what was said. I needed a transcript of everything that was done on the video. I know I'm weak when it comes to that. I just can't watch that right now. I just can't. It's too much. I know what's on it. I know exactly what's on it. And so I just want to, let people know that everything I say, she has told me everything. Other people have, told me what's on it. So, and I have a transcript of everything that was said on it as well. But so, the cops obviously watching the unedited body cam, which, they have not released to me yet. They also have not released the dash cam or the store surveillance. They are withholding all of that. Okay. So one of the things I want to say is, when you're guilty of something, you usually hide things. If they were being transparent with me, then they would release all of that. If they felt that their officers did nothing wrong, then why don't they release all of that evidence to me and to the public? But they are withholding everything to themselves. Okay. So anyway, I'll move on. After he told me that, it looked like there was no pressure being put on my son. I'm not stupid. I mean, seriously, I was like, you guys are full of it, but okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any proof right now. So I just have to lay back down in my bed and weep for my son. Okay. So about an hour later, all these news articles start coming out, news stations doing all this stuff. Here comes the false narrative that the police love to do. And this is one thing I never realized before my son was killed, is that's exactly what they do, is they put out a false narrative about the person that they killed to make themselves look not so guilty. Okay. So all these articles start coming out. People are texting me these articles, sending me this, texting me, calling me, hey, did you see this? Did you hear this? And I'm just like, leave me alone. I can't take any more. I just can't take any more today. So later on that night, I finally decided to look at my phone, and I see a news article that somebody had sent me that said that they had used a baton on my son. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I mean, come on. What are you talking about? First of all, I didn't believe the whole story of Shayne, you know, trying to get up and run. That's not him. He's not a coward at all. He would never, I mean, who knows whatever state of mind he was in. I just didn't believe that. But whether he did or not makes no difference, because as far as I know, his Miranda rights were never read. So he was never under arrest for them to even tackle him in the first place. He had no weapon. He was unarmed, you know. So anyway, I hear about this baton, and it's at night. So obviously I can't call the detective and say, you know, where did this baton come in from?
Yeah.
So I call him the next morning and I'm like, you know, you need to tell me about this baton I'm hearing about. And he says, oh, that's, you know, they just use that to restrain him. I said, okay, why didn't you tell me about this yesterday? Why, that's a pretty big deal to me. Why didn't you tell me about this yesterday? So I said, where was this baton used to restrain my son? Did you put it on his neck? Did you, oh no, we just put it under his shoulder. Under his shoulder, but he's on his stomach. Okay, you know, I mean, was it in front of his shoulder? What were you doing? And so he just, you know, he couldn't really tell me a lot, or he didn't want to tell me a lot. So, you know, then I don't know. And then again, as far as the video, it's not clear. From what I've been told, it's not clear where that was. So I can't really say. But I can say from however many times my cousin and other people have watched that video, that the cop was putting his body weight on Shayne. Shayne was in the prone position, which is on his stomach. His hands were cuffed behind his back. Common sense, okay? You don't leave somebody in the prone position, period, especially with their hands cuffed behind their back. They're supposed to pull them up, roll them to their side, whatever they do to get them off of their stomach, okay? As I had my cousin give me a transcript, the times and all this stuff, I don't want to quote exact times because again, I have an edited body cam that we're going off of. So that's why I say approximate or about, because I don't want them to quote me and say that I'm lying. I'm not lying. I'm just, you know, I don't have your guys's unedited body cam, but I do have a body cam that shows exactly what happened to my son. Approximately 1 minute into after they took Shayne to the ground, he said, I can't breathe. He told them, I can't breathe, approximately 1 minute into it. Okay. Several times later, I have notes, and that's why I'm kind of, you know, going over this a little bit. Several times later, he tells them, you know, I can't breathe again. Please let me breathe. Please, sir. Calling them sir. My son was calling them sir. You know, please, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Help me. So for 2 more minutes after that first time, let me backtrack. Approximately 2 more minutes after the first time he said, I can't breathe, they continue to put pressure on his back and his neck. Okay.
My goodness.
Yeah. Just ignoring him, could just blatantly ignored his pleas for help. And then one of the officers says he's turning colors. Well, it's too late by then because they killed my son. So for about 3 minutes, they were on my son with their arm pressed into the side of his neck while he's begging for his life, politely calling them sir, and telling them I can't breathe. Please let me breathe. How do they do that? I mean, what kind of people are they? What kind of human does that to somebody? I mean, I don't get that. And they call these police are here to protect and serve.
It's disgusting. It's
disgusting.
He didn't run. He asked for help. He's the one that called the police. 3 minutes 1 minute even in that they were on, there was not even any reason for them to physically touch him. That's assault. Like, it's like everything, they did everything wrong, everything. And gosh, it's awful. I seen a comment real quick from a brother, impacted brother, Trevor Seaver's brother, and he was responding back just that he's so sorry that you had to go through watching, or that you guys, your family, and that you're having to review stuff, and that he too had to do the same, and how awful it was. And that's something that I relate to, and I want the other people to, families know this, but for people who don't, just that we are forced to literally play all these
investigators. Yeah.
Investigators.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate that. Kyle, I mean, he's really like fighting too for his brother and for everybody. And he's really been very supportive of us too. And we appreciate that.
Yeah. And, I just really want to highlight that for people that watch this show. And eventually, if people look up your son's name, they'll be able to see an interview with the mom. And I don't even like to call these interviews. It's more just me chatting with you guys and sharing the story together. But
I think it's a great place to like vent and tell my side, because, back to like the false narrative part, the next day, all the news, up there was out. There's several different, news stations that had reported on it, the newspaper and stuff. And what the cops, whatever the cops say is what the media prints and says, because, they don't, I kind of feel like, we should be able to sue them for, what is that, defamation of character or whatever, because they don't investigate it. They just start popping off with it. They don't know, they just say whatever the cops say, and the cops lie. So anyway, the narrative that was put out about my son is that he was threatening a store employee at the AM/PM. So, okay, here I am. I mean, us moms, we think we know our kids, very well. I mean, there's things that, we may think that our kids never do. So I want to go to the store. Again, I live almost 3 hours away, but I want to go to the store, because if my son was actually in that state of mind to threaten somebody, but I've just never seen him like, he's just not, he was not violent. I mean, he would get mad just like anybody gets mad and might yell or whatever, but he just wasn't a violent type of person. Okay. So I was like, wow, when I first heard that. So I was like, okay, I'm not, again, I need to investigate this for myself. I don't know. I haven't seen the video. I don't know. So me and the mother of Shayne's kids, we went into the store. I took a picture of me and Shayne, and I asked to speak with the store manager. So he came out, and I showed him a picture. I said, this is me and this is my son. He's the one that died outside of your store yesterday. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. He was offering his condolences. And I just asked him, I said, look, I don't know what happened when Shayne came in here, but, from what I've been hearing on the news is that he was threatening one of your employees. And I just want to tell you that if my son did that, that was very unlike him. And I want to apologize for him, because that's not something that he would do. So if he did that, there must have been something really bad going on with him or whatever. But I want to apologize. And he was like, no, ma'am, he didn't threaten anybody. He just had a bottle, and when Shayne would get like a chocolate milk or something, Shayne would shake it side to side like this. Anybody that knows him, that ever saw him, he loved his chocolate milk. He'd always go down to the store and get a chocolate milk. He would shake it like this. That's what he always did. Okay. So when the manager comes out, when he told me this, he goes, oh no, he was just shaking a bottle like this.
Oh my goodness.
Now how is he going to know that? That's not, that's just what Shayne did, I mean, if I shake a bottle, I'm like, you know, Shayne, that's just what he did. And so again, I don't know. I haven't seen the video. I don't know. So I'm not saying whether he did threaten somebody or whether he didn't. I don't know. They will not release the videos to us. So I don't know. All I know is what the store manager said. And he said that no, he wasn't threatening anybody, that he was in there obviously confused or whatever. And he was going register to register. He didn't hurt anybody. He told me he did not threaten anybody. And he said that when the police came after Shayne used the phone, then I guess a store employee also called, and I guess the store employee said that Shayne was threatening someone. So I don't know if Shayne was threatening somebody. I could understand him calling, but again, that's one piece of the puzzle I can't speak truly on because I don't know. All I know is what the manager told me. Okay. But again, the cops get there, Shayne goes right out. I did watch the video up until Shayne jumps up because I needed to see that for myself, to see whether he was actually gonna run or not. I wanted to see that. In my opinion and several other people's opinions, it looks like he got scared or spooked or something. There was a sign behind him. Somebody also said it sounded like handcuffs clicking and maybe that like flipped him out. I don't know. But it looked like he like just jumped up and just like got scared and kind of spun around. And then they just bam, just took him to the ground. But the belittling that they did of my son from the time that they got to that store shows me that they looked at my son as less than them, that he wasn't a person, whatever they thought of him. They didn't agree with whatever lifestyle, you know, whatever it was. They were very judgmental and on my son, belittling him, you know, asking him, you know, how would your work like to know, this or whatever. I mean, that's not their job. Do they get that? Like, do they understand that that's not their job, is to go belittle people?
They're not respectable. And this is speaking just right now off of who we're speaking of. I had a lot of experiences with cops, but based off of these ones, they're not respectable people at all. Like, how do you expect to be working with the community, being paid by the people, and you can't even freaking talk to the people with respect? I want to go back to real quick before I let you continue, to the where you're sharing that you watched to the spot that you seen Shayne jump up, and you guys don't really know what is happening because you don't have the full video. But so you say you seen him kind of pop up. A couple people say he seemed startled by something. You guys heard clicks. I don't know this to be true, but I know the clicking, the sound of a taser sounds like that. I know my brother was killed, for people watching, he was killed in a very similar way to Shayne, and he also was assaulted with the taser. So now that I've watched videos and stuff, and this is why I want to chime in on this, I've watched my brother's, I've heard the audio and watched the videos that I was able to, and that initial interaction where there's physical, it starts with them freaking tasering my brother. And then they try to say, oh, well, he started acting. No, they tased him first, unnecessarily. And that causes their body to react to it. You know, they can't help that. And then they use that to say, hey, stop resisting. So I don't know if I'm not saying he did get tased, but it's just a possibility that I want to throw out there. Because a lot of times that these people have, so many people that have been killed this way, at the hands that I can't breathe, and being suffocated ultimately to death by these officers. It often includes taser also, and the beating and suffocation, at least two of those or more. So I just want to throw that out there. You have they said when or if, or has there been any updates on getting the full video? I mean, we don't know that we could trust these people, but full video will provide some more for you.
About the tasing, several people have told me that, again, you know, I haven't listened. There is also an audio out there, that came out. The body cam didn't come out for about, I want to say 3 weeks. But there was an audio that came out the day after Shayne was killed. Actually, and I want to give a shout out to 209 Bad Apples Candy Press. They've been there, you know, from the beginning, like giving me the videos. They gave me, they put out the audio, the dispatch audio of what happened. I mean, it's just actual raw thing. I, again, did not listen to it, but I've had several people tell me it sounds like a taser. I don't know. And as far as like more information, they haven't told me anything. I do have some information that I can't disclose publicly right now because I'm waiting for some more information to come in. But there is a reason why they are not releasing everything. Okay.
Yep.
And but they're going to have to. They're gonna have to eventually, like, you know, release it. I don't know why they don't. I don't know why they don't just deal with this when it happens. I think that they are hoping maybe the families get tired and just kind of give up. And I mean, I'll tell you, I'm exhausted physically, emotionally. It's I mean, this is, I'm a strong person, you know. I have been. I've been through things. It's like most people have been through things. I think I handle stress well. I handle things well. But I met my match on this. This is way beyond anything I've ever, you know, thought I could handle. I seriously go through. I mean, my heart's just shattered. It's shattered. I mean, what they did to my son and the terror that he felt that 3 minutes while they were on him. I just don't understand how anybody could do that to somebody. And just knowing that my son, just pure terror, the last 3 minutes of his life just kills me.
Gosh. So sorry, Karen. I know a lot of these people, these mamas out here and the family members are here sending you love. And I seen people killed like this. Sometimes I'll, you know, I look at children or even little animals and stuff. I'm like, even they couldn't, like, they would be distressing somebody, people in distress. They know better than to hurt and to value human life. So to see these officers repeatedly killing our loved ones, murdering, with Michael and Shayne being killed so similarly, when we first spoke, my heart hurts for you so much. And I meant to say it earlier, but to your cousin, you know, just really having your back. And I just want to give a shout out to her too. And, you know, being there for you through this and everybody that has been there. Yeah, lots of families in here sending you love.
I thank you. I mean, so many people have just, you know, they've been wonderful. I lean on my dad a lot. You know, my dad, like I said, you know, him and Shayne were, you know, really, really close. And so, you know, we talk a lot about it. And, you know, because we understand each other, how we feel. And it's hard because when something like this happens, such a tragedy, you know, I just, honestly, my heart is completely just broken into just very small pieces. It's just, it'll never be the same. I feel like I'll never be the same. And I go from just pure devastation to pure anger a lot. When I do the protests and rallies, I always, you know, do peaceful, you know, I want to get my message out. But we go out and we speak out, and a lot, you know, other families join us, which is wonderful. But it's a sense of relief. Just like the other day when we were out, when you were with us, Marissa, and I was only up there for a couple minutes. On my way home, I have like a almost 3 hour drive. That's the calmest that I've been in a long time, just because doing those kind of helps, get it out a little bit, and we get to, talk about our loved ones that people understand. But going through something like this, it's just every single day. I wake up and I go through the same. I feel like I'm on Groundhog's Day. I go through the same exact thing every morning when I wake up. It's like, is this real? This isn't real. This didn't happen. Maybe I'm still in the denial stage. I was in the shock stage for a long time, to where it was just such disbelief. I couldn't believe it. Having to bury my son, the day before his 30th birthday.
My goodness.
I bought the plot right next to my son for myself, because, as a mom, I don't know, it's just, I can't explain it, but, people are going to understand when I do say this, that it's like we don't want them to be alone, even though we know that they're, not physically in their body anymore. But it's just this feeling of, when we had to plan his funeral, and getting the clothes that he was going to wear. It was like this sense of, I have to, my son, I got to make sure he's got, clean underwear, clean pant, everything, like down to the socks, and it's just like, so it's like that mama bear, even though they're no longer here, you still have to, you still do that. And I don't know. It's not fair. It's horrible. That, my son and so many others that could have just been helped by, maybe a mental health response team, or somebody that actually had some compassion and weren't, out for vengeance for whatever. I mean, obviously these two cops that went out there were angry at somebody, or they have, issues in their own lives, that they are just angry people or something, because, just to go and belittle somebody the way they did my son, and to actually literally be taking his life while he's begging. That's sick. That's some shit you see in a movie. I mean, that's sick and deranged stuff. And so, that's where my anger comes out. And you see me during this show, probably, where I just go from, because our emotions, just like you, Marissa, I'm sure too, like, still, after how long has it been? Like 4 years now for Michael. And it's like, I'm sure that there's days where, you're more sad, and there's days that you're more angry, and that, I'm experiencing that. So it's just not right. Things need to change. I go out and I rally with other people. So many families have been so supportive. Unfortunately, the families that have been through this have really come through for me, where people in my life I thought would have not. And I get the thing where it's uncomfortable, or they don't know what to say. But sometimes you don't need to say anything. You just need to let us know that you're there.
Yeah.
That's it. And not having that has also been, and I'm not saying everybody in my family, okay, let me, correct that. I don't want people to get mad at me, but I'm just saying that it's I have those few people that I talk to and stuff like that, but it's kind of like everybody else is just crickets. And I've learned that this is very common in families when something like this happens.
Definitely. It's a very isolating event, and it just changes your life in that way also. So yes, definitely. I think everybody on the show, everybody that has been highlighted on the show has shared that. It's definitely happened in my family. I do want to hit this comment real quick. It is, let's see, Nick.
That's Shayne's brother.
Yeah, so he's posting from another account. He says his other account is banned right now. So he said, "This is Nick. Shayne was my best friend and oldest brother. I appreciate you all for showing support and listening to my mom speak." So
This
of
has been
course,
really hard. It's been really hard on Nick too. Him and Shayne were very close. In fact, last year before all this happened, Nick lives in Texas, and so Shayne went out there to visit Nick, and they just hung out, I think, for a couple weeks, and they went all over the place and like traveled, and so I'm grateful that they were able to have that time together too. And of course, he flew out the very next day after Shayne was killed. And he stayed, for a little while, but it's been, and I also want to say too, like when we did Shayne's funeral, of course we had it outdoor. I mean, even if we had planned it indoor, there's no way, especially with COVID. There was over 200 people at Shayne's funeral. Okay. So this whole false narrative that they put out about my son and label him as this bad person, a bad person, the way they labeled him doesn't have over 200 people at their funeral in the middle of a pandemic. Shayne was loved. Shayne's very missed. The disbelief of what happened to him is, it's so many people have just, reached out, to show their love and that they miss him and that they can't believe that this happened to him. And, it's just, I just pray that these cops are held accountable. And I hope that, that they have to, go through the same process anybody else would if they did that to somebody, because that's what needs to be done. They need to be held accountable.
yeah. Yeah. And, I want to talk about the fact that the case is still open right now. So Shayne's case is still in the hands of the district attorney to possibly, so we know how police killings work, that more likely than not, they will be justified, even with video, even with witnesses. But Shayne's case is still open. Has the DA reached out to you, anything like that?
No, but at the rally on Monday, this past Monday, she actually, she came out, which, I have never had a rally at the DA's office, so that was my first experience with that. She did come out and she was listening to, people, to people speak and everything. So I did get up there. I did get a little emotional because, my son was murdered and I'm going to be emotional about it. And I just basically kind of directed what I was saying at her a little bit. And I just basically asked, are these cops trained to ignore somebody when they're begging for their life and saying, "I can't breathe"? They should have got off my son the first time he said, "I can't breathe." They should have got off of him. What kind of threat is somebody when they're on their stomach with their hands cuffed behind their back with no weapon? He was of no threat. Even if they just left him like that and got off of him, where is he going to go?
Yeah.
Where's he going to go? Hold his legs or something if you don't want to get him up, but you don't sit on someone and put your arm in their neck. So that was my point of telling her, for about 3 minutes, this is what they're doing. Are they trained to do that? Are they trained to ignore people in distress? He was obviously in distress. If you're choking on something, all of us have, choked on food or water or something to where we're like trying to, don't you kind of get panicky and try to get air? Okay, so that's probably what Shayne was doing. It has nothing to do with resisting arrest. How are you going to resist arrest when you're on your stomach and handcuffs? Resisting is no longer, because you're not going to go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. You're literally laying there with your hands cuffed behind your back. So it's not even about resisting. It was about a power trip of those cops is what it was. Well, we have control of you now. We're gonna, that's what it was. And that's how I feel it was. There's no other excuse as to why you lay on somebody with your arm in their neck while they're begging for their life and telling you they can't breathe, as to why in the hell you would stay on them for about 2 more minutes, other than you have personal issues within yourself that you should never, ever be in law enforcement or in a position of power, period. So yeah, I know I get emotional. I don't sugarcoat stuff, never have. And, I'm not going to, just sit down and take this. Like, I'm going to tell them how I feel, and I want to know why. And that was what I said to her the other day. Why? You just tell me why. What is the excuse for this? There is none, So it was brief. But as far as them reaching out to me, no. In fact, when they released the body cam video, from what I've been told of other families, they are supposed to call the family first and let the family view it. I never got that phone call. It was released on Monday to everybody, me included, all at the same time. They have no respect, none.
Gosh, and that just seems to be the common thing. We were never contacted by a DA or anybody, or given any respect to get the records first or whatever they release. I do want to hit back real quick. Just, we know this, families know this, but people watching, even if Shayne did commit a crime, even if he did try to run, even if he did threaten an employee, it doesn't make what they did. Even in the name of the law, it's not okay. So
exactly.
And then I also, these officers, so one, they're trained, 2, they're supposed to be trained on use of force as well, and positional asphyxiation. A person should have to be trained on how not to smother and suffocate someone to death. So this is a problem for me when I hear people talking about they need more training. It's not, what is it going to do? Teach you not to kill somebody?
That's what I was telling you guys earlier. It's common sense, especially if someone's telling you I can't breathe.
Yeah. So it's frustrating to hear these things over and over. I've been told that while listening to stories on here that I keep my composure good. But I don't know, there's a lot going on in here. And I get so angry. Just every family I hear, and you got the details you're sharing, is just so, like someone said on here, they're monsters. And if someone else commented, he was resisting death.
Yeah, absolutely. You didn't want to die. I mean, that's what I'm saying. When you're trying to breathe, like, you're going to be probably moving around trying to get air. Like, and then they want to tell them to calm down. Why don't you calm down if how would you react if somebody were doing that to you? How could you calm down when somebody's on your back with their arm in your neck? How can you calm down? He's just trying to breathe. And then calling him sir, that just, man, I don't know. And if people watch the video, I mean, they can see of what happened. And that's why I tell people, I had my cousin do a little what is it called in the beginning of the video? It's like a 13-second pause type of thing. And so that way I could post it, because I don't want to see it. So she did that basically for me, and also a trigger warning to people. And I do have it on YouTube. And another San Joaquin Valley Transparency also did a video on Shayne, which was a very good video, highlights a lot of things on there, and he put it on YouTube. And so it's been seen by so many people now, and the majority of the comments on there are in complete 100% in support of Shayne and us fighting for this. And they've watched it, they've watched the body cam, and so they can judge us for themselves. Of course you get those few in there ignorant comments or whatever, but but the majority are so supportive. So it's like, if that body cam is out there that people are watching, seeing this for themselves, and I have so much support and people telling me, Karen, keep fighting, because what they did to him was murder. They murdered your son. You know, he didn't deserve this. Like, he was complying. He was not resisting, you know, he didn't deserve this, you know, plain out. So that kind of tells me right there that, you know, it's not just me being emotional. This is real. Like, they, you know, they murdered my son, and so many people are in agreement of that. So,
Gosh. So as Karen mentioned, it is on YouTube. For anybody who is watching this and who would like to see it or see it for themselves, I've shared this in the event and on our page, but I'll share the link in here again. Like she said, trigger warning, but it must, like, my brother's death isn't out there yet, not on video, not like that recorded on video or audio yet, but you know, that's one thing that I personally have a big fear of, that being there. So I just can't imagine being a mother and just knowing your son's death is there with all these people seeing it. And then these officers are still walking.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they got a 3-day paid vacation after they murdered my son. And, you know, that's another thing I have a problem with, like, you know, a 3-day paid vacation, and now they're out to murder whoever else they want, you know, like my son. Like, it just, to me, they need some major, you know, they need to, you know, they need to really do some investigation on these cops, because they're just not right in the head. They're not. You cannot do that to somebody and be considered sane. You can't. That's not normal. You don't, you know, to want to go out and hurt somebody, that's not normal. That's not human. That is inhumane. It's disgusting. For somebody telling you they can't breathe, and you literally on this, you know, even my cousin told me, like, some of it, you can tell my son is struggling just to talk. He's struggling to make a word out. There's quite a bit of it at the end that's in awe. You can't even tell what he's saying because he's dying. That's and awesome. You know, that to me is, it's just evil. And, you know, you cannot call yourself a human if you want to go out and hurt people. That's not normal.
Gosh, and people still, there's people in our country, in the United States of America, that are not aware or don't believe that this is happening to all of us, and all races, all people of different backgrounds, and all over the country. There's not one state where police killings are not happening in California. Absolutely. Gosh, we are up there.
No, it's, I mean, it's insane, the amount of people, and just all the time. It's just, I don't understand how this is being allowed to continue, and it's been happening for so long.
Yeah, it really has. And as you are one of the newer families that I met just in the last few months, they're on here. I'm looking at the comments. There's a bunch of new families on here who are just new into this. So just gotta tell you guys, keep pushing. You're gonna be, one thing I want to tell new families is take your breaks when you need it. Sometimes we need to take our breaks. We need to shut off our social media, get off of Facebook, because I promise you get off for 2 weeks, you come back, it's the same shit. Mm-hmm. And just more victims coming, just more families being added. But it's really hard. So I see you families going hard, and just a reminder, the older families know that as well. We need to take our breaks and take care of ourselves too. Okay, so I do want to just hear a little more, at least. I know we're a little bit past 6, and but I wanted to just see if you can share. I want to end this on a note about Shayne and his fatherhood, like his babies out there. I seen the mother in here. I didn't catch the name, but I just seen a comment a couple minutes ago. She's on here as well. So Erica? If you want to, what's her name?
Erica.
Yeah, something with the B after that, right? Her last name?
Bellotti.
Yes. Yeah. So she's on here, and she said that, you know, her children's father is gone forever, and this is one of the hardest things ever. So I want to talk about Shayne, and just tell us about the grandbabies.
Okay. this is the highlight that I just love, I just love talking about this. Shayne's son, he's named after him, Shayne Allen Sutherland Jr. He's 5 years old now. He understands more of, I don't think they know how. I hope that they don't know how their father died. I'm sure they will eventually one day, but he knows that his daddy's no longer here. He has a daughter and she's 4, Demetria. We call her Demi for short. And that was his yiddle girls, he would call her, Shayne loved being a father, even though the kids together, they were wild and stuff and everything, but that was his life. And, I have so many pictures of him and the kids. And it, now, I buried Shayne in Manteca because, that's the area that they live in. And I wanted them to be able to go to, his grave site. Their mom is wonderful about taking them, keeping his name alive with them. I go to her house and she has pictures of Shayne up all over for the kids. They talk about him a lot because, they're so young, and I'm sure that baby Shayne is what we call him. I'm sure that, he'll have vague memories still of his dad, but I worry about Demi not having, because she was, so young when he died, that I'm sure, she's going to know who he is. But as far as having actual memories, we try to, show them videos. They have a lot of videos of Shayne and the kids. When Shayne was here staying at my house before he went, after he came back from Alaska, and then right before he went back to his union job, he would FaceTime the kids a lot, and they have pictures and videos and just a lot of that. So it's so sad seeing them go out to his grave site. You can see his son. His son you can just see it in his face. You see him just looking down and just very, very sad. Even though he's only 5, it's like he knows. And Demi, she'll go up and she'll just talk to her dad. She'll just go up to his headstone. Hi, Daddy. I'll see you later, Daddy. And sometimes they'll kiss. He's got his picture on there, and but yeah, it's just not fair. It's not fair that those babies now, have to grow up going to the cemetery to visit their dad's grave. It's not right. We spent Christmas there. We opened up gifts at his gravesite with the kids.
That's horrible. I've seen, I see a lot of families, even families that have been here for many years, they still do that. They still, they're doing the holidays, going to visit or decorate the gravesite. Still, those days are just harder no matter what, no matter how long goes by.
It's very hard. It's very hard. And just knowing the love that he had for his kids, I mean, they were his life. And like, if, sometimes I'll go on his Facebook page or his Instagram or whatever. And I mean, there's so many posts, of him, wanting, like little memes or whatever. I just want to be this kind of dad, I hope my kids, just positive things. And it's just, seeing that, and just knowing, how much he loved his children. He was always, he was there for them. He provided for them, and he just worried about them a lot. And it's just not fair. Like I said, for 3 hours, I thought my son died of more natural causes. And, as hard as even that would have been, it wouldn't have been the anger and the frustration and the fight and the why and the, it's just, he was stolen, just like so many people have been stolen from us by the people that are supposed to protect us. And It's every day. It's every day. I just need people to open their eyes. I need people other than us justice families that already know that this happens. I think people are getting tired of me speaking out. Again, like I said, a lot of people have become crickets in my life, and that's fine. I mean, it is what it is. I have people in my life that do support and are there for me, and I'm okay with that, but I do share a lot. You see that I share, I speak out, because people need to know. People need to open their eyes and be real about this, because this is what's happening. Just because it hasn't happened to you or your family, this is happening, and this is happening to people that are, they want to judge people that have a criminal background, or people that are having a mental health crisis, or people that, may be using drugs or whatever. This is happening to people that don't do any of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is just happening, and it needs a change. And so if I can, get it out there, even if I lose quote friends or family or whatever, because they're sick of my posts or they're sick of me speaking out, oh, well, I'm going to keep doing it.
Yep. And that's another common thing that happens when our lives change. We take a different direction with our posts, with, our whole life's purpose. It changes, and we fight for our loved ones. Not everybody sticks. Actually, most don't stick by our side. But you gain a whole bunch of new families who are the impact of families. And that's why it's one thing that made me want to start even this series and the organization in general, is just that the families are the ones, in my experience, that have been the most supportive of us, and just wanting to do the same for other families through this.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I appreciate you so much. I tell you that a lot, but honestly, just you as a friend, you have become a very good friend of mine. And listening to me vent, I think the first time I ever spoke to you on the phone, I was venting and crying to you for over an hour. And and I appreciate that. And just leading me into a direction, or maybe giving me, advice on this or that, when, we don't know. Like I said, they don't give us a handbook and say, okay, this is what you do. We're just lost, and I'm still lost sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, should I do this or should I not? Or, do I say this or do I, and the thing, what it boils down to is I'm an emotional mom that has lost my child. I may, say things that are, wrong, or I may have whatever, but I'm just doing what I know. And I appreciate, you letting us families use your platform to tell the stories that we aren't able to tell, to the media, because I did a media interview the day after Shayne was killed, and it was good in a way. I was able to share his family side, who he was. He was a coach for the kids' football teams. I was able to share on the news that I provided pictures, and they, they were good about that, but they also left out so many other things that I said that would have helped correct the false narrative. And so they completely left that out. Like, yeah, the whole thing where I talked to the manager, I had literally just come out of the store, and about 10 minutes later, that's when the news station showed up, and I did an interview with them. Me and Erica did. And they left it. I have the original one. I have my friend who was with us too. I had her recording the whole time in the background. I have the whole entire video. I have everything that was said. But I get it that they can't, air the whole thing, but they cut out some major parts of me telling them that I had talked to the store manager, and he said that Shayne wasn't threatening anybody. They completely wiped that out of the video. Yeah. So, that way they could keep on with the narrative that the police had given them. So I'm really careful on who I speak to as far as media goes and stuff like that now. If I'm not able to tell my whole story, then I'm probably not going to talk to you. Because, I don't feel like I should be edited out. I'm speaking for, my son and other people that have, been served injustice of the police. And I want to, be heard 100% and not, edit out the things that don't go, that aren't going to get you your news broadcast.
Yeah, I found with the media, they often want the family's pain, but they don't want those details that will criminalize or incriminate the police,
Right.
who essentially turn into the criminals when they're murdering our loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, that's why I don't do the media no more. I don't do the, like, I see Fox 40 out. I'm like, I'm
Just
good.
run the other way. Yeah.
I'm good. And that's why we started this. And a lot of families have thanked me for this platform and stuff. And I just want to remind you guys, this is for the families. So it's not just mine, it's ours. All the families have been out on here, and the other impacted families who haven't even, this is for the families. This is for all of our loved ones. And with that being said, just any families on here, if you guys haven't connected with me yet to set up a day to be on here, please reach out. We are doing this at least through 2021. I don't know where I will be starting in 2022 with the work. I'm not sure if this will continue, but I mean, we have enough content to do it and enough families, sadly, but I want to get the families on here. After 2021, when we finish this year up, we're going to have a shitload of our families' live testimonies and us sharing our truths with all these similar details of how they do us and our loved ones after they kill our police in the kill our loved ones by police in the United States. So it's important. I feel like this is really it's a long project, but it's going to be worth it, and it helps get our stories out there. So if any families haven't connected, reach out. If you cannot be on this show, if you are one of the families that cannot speak, you don't feel comfortable, you don't know how to yet, reach out. We have some alternatives for you guys too, if you want to share your loved one's story on here. Sorry, that was a whole bunch I just let out.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you guys. So there's so many comments and questions in here, Karen. So when you get a chance, I never recommend the same day. It's a lot after doing these kind of things and talking and letting them out. It's good for us. It's also a lot. So is there anything else you would like to share? And then also, how can people support and follow Justice for Shayne Sutherland and support your family?
I just want to say thank you for everybody that hopped on today to, give me the time to tell the Shayne's story and, kind of correct some of the false narratives out there. As soon as, everything is out, I will definitely share more, but because it's still an active case, there's certain things, but it's still pending stuff. So I just, wanted to thank everybody and thank Marissa again. I want to thank the people in my life that have stuck by me and, just being there. I know that I'm different and, I'm not that bubbly person that I was before, but, that's just unfortunately, what happens. And if I can support any new families that are going through this, just reach out to me. You can add me on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, and my Instagram is Justice for Shayne Sutherland. And we also have a Facebook, Justice for Shayne Sutherland Facebook page as well. You can go on there and kind of follow. I post on there different things, videos of Shayne, updates, any kind of rallies that we're doing. I am also, I do participate in other rallies, anything that can help, change what's going on. I try to participate in. I do live a couple hours away, so I can't go to everything, but I do try. So I encourage people to, get involved, and that's the only way we're gonna make changes. Changes aren't going to happen by sitting behind our keyboard. We have to get out there and, peacefully just, make our demands known, and all of us get together, and we all have to come together and do this. And laws need to be, put into place, and that's the only way things are going to, change. So, but I want to thank you, Marissa, again for having me on, to tell Shayne's story.
Yeah, of course, of course. And thank you for coming on with us and being willing to talk and share. It's important. I know how hard it is. So the other families as well. Just a lot of positive encouragement, people telling you to keep it going, keep fighting for your son. And I know you will. So,
Absolutely.
and I just want to just send some love one more time to you and the family, Nick, Erica, your grandchildren, the rest of the siblings, and your father.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, okay. Well, Karen, you and I will be keeping in touch as we have since the beginning. And thank you to everybody who have came on with us. And we will be back next Wednesday. And until then, I'll see you guys on Facebook. Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.